Good morning, Year 9s. This is lesson number 5 and it is on franchising. It's still about ownership and still on ownership and it's 1.4, making the business effective. Please make sure that you have your workbook at the ready as well to do with franchising. So just before we start franchising, I just want you to recap on private limited company with some questions for you to look at. Your knowledge recall quiz. So what is a private limited company? How is the ownership of the company divided up? What type of liability is there? What is one advantage of a private limited company? And what is the disadvantage of a private limited company? So I want you to pause the PowerPoint there and answer the questions. If you can't remember, have a look in your workbook from private limited companies or your textbook or Murphy's resources as well, might be able to help you. So let's have a look at the answers. So a private limited company is a small family business in which shareholders enjoy limited liability. How is the ownership of the company divided up? It's divided up into equal parts called shares. What type of liability is there? Limited liability for the shareholders, which means they are only liable for the money that they put into the business. What is one advantage of a private limited company? So I've put a few advantages down here so you can hopefully have picked one of them. It can still be a family business. Likely to have more staff to cope with absence and holiday, might have specialist staff in it, more money in the business, easy to raise capital or money and sell more shares. Also, banks prefer a private limited company because they can see that there are shareholders, so it's easier to get a bank loan as well. What is a disadvantage? There are a few here. Shares can only be sold privately, not on the stock market like a big company like, for instance, Marks and Spencer's, or on the stock exchange. They have to share the profit. This is a private limited company. They have to share all the profit between their shareholders, and it can be expensive to set up, and decisions can take longer because they have to be made by the board of directors. Today we are going to look at franchising, and if you can see, I've made a mistake there with the lesson title, so I will change that if I can, but otherwise if I can't, we are going to be doing franchising today, not private limited companies. We are going to give examples of advantages and disadvantages, and you're going to try and answer an exam style question related to franchise. Right, so these are words that you need to know for the lesson. Franchising is paying a franchisee owner for the right to use an established business name, branding and business methods. Royalties, percentage of the sales revenues to be paid to the overall franchise owner. An entrepreneur, as we've discussed right at the beginning of Year 9, if you can remember that, is a person who sets up a business and takes on financial risks in the hope of profit, and the brand is a named product which customers see as being different from other products. So we're going to look at that. Franchising, you might know some franchising companies, but let's have a look now. So how many franchising businesses do you know? So here are some hints for you. Where do you go to get your beef burger from? Very famous company. One of the largest companies in the world. What's your favourite chicken shop? Again, very famous company. And do you go to, it should be Anne, not A, acting or dance and singing school? Actually, one of the companies uses Carshalton High School for Girls Hall for it. So if you can think about that, who uses that, it will help you with how many franchising businesses you know. Some other clues, do you go to a gym, and which is your favourite, Costa or Starbucks for your coffee or your smoothie or a sandwich that you might have? So I'd like you to pause there and write down your ideas. So how many franchising businesses do you know? There's a big clue here with a picture. Some other ones are here. So KFC is a very big one. McDonald's is probably one of the largest franchises in the world. You need £1 million to invest in a KFC franchise if that's what you might want to do. Stagecoach, if you heard of them, they established in 1988. A network of Stagecoach franchisees now numbers 300 with a growing global presence across 8 countries. Costa operates 2,000 franchises in the UK just alone. Snap Fitness is a gym and 24/7. It is established in 2003 and has got 65 work clubs in the 65 fitness clubs in the UK. So there are a few, hopefully you've got many more, but they're just a few well-known ones that you might know. So let's have a look at some key points. A franchise is an arrangement which an established business name is sold to an individual or company which can start trading under that name. So many fast food restaurants like Pizza Hut, KFC operate franchises. There are 2 parties involved. The franchisor, which is a business selling the right to trade its product or service, and a franchisee, which is a company or person buying the business. So when you're in a franchise, you're going to find it much easier to attract customers, and therefore you have a lower risk of failure, which is, if you're an entrepreneur, might be a good thing for you. So just a bit more information about franchise on the PowerPoint below. And just to note that royalties are regular payments that you have to pay to the franchisor. We'll have a look at that in a bit more detail in a minute. So, new knowledge about a franchise. So a business idea from a startup doesn't always have to be original. Many new businesses are formed with the intention of offering an existing business idea. The use of franchises is a great example of that. The basic idea of a franchise is this. A franchisor grants a license to another business, the franchisee, to allow it to trade using the brand or business format. It might sound a bit complicated, but actually the trick to remember is that the franchisor is in charge. The franchisor is the original owner of the business idea. Franchisees are a significant part of the business life in the UK. Franchising is particularly suitable for service businesses. Overall, investing in a franchise is a lower risk method of starting a business, and there is a lower chance of business failure. There are many good franchise opportunities available for a startup, but there are some poor ones too. So there is still a need for the entrepreneur to do market research into the franchise. Key areas to look at are the startup fee and the royalties paid to the franchisor. Important note to note is a franchise is a kind of halfway house for a budding entrepreneur. It is a lower risk method of market entry and is often easier to raise finance. A bank does like a franchise if it's a good franchise. However, running a franchise does not offer the kind of long-term financial rewards that owning a business outright can. So just to give you a bit of information, McDonald's franchisees must make an initial investment of over between 1 million and 2.2 million pounds. So they might have to use a bank loan for that. And also, every Big Mac or anything they sell, they have to pay a royalty fee to McDonald's. So for instance, a Big Mac, the franchisor takes 13p out of each Big Mac that they sell. That's 4% of the gross sales. So there's some questions and answers that you might have about franchising here. Why is a franchise less risky, not busy, risky? This is because you're buying a famous brand, not brand that everybody knows. Will I be my own boss? You can be your own boss. You make all the decisions in the business and you can employ your own staff, and you are responsible for stock, the quality of the food, if it's a food place that goes out, and customer service and the day-to-day running of the franchise. How much is it going to cost you? Well, as I said, McDonald's costs you a lot of money. Domino's might cost you about £450,000. What about other costs? You will have to pay a fee each year for using the brand, which is called a royalty. You will also have to buy their furniture, their ingredients, uniform for staff, their tills, that sort of thing. But what about training and advertising? The franchisor will provide you with all of this, so it's easy. You don't start from scratch. They will also tell you the prices to charge and lay out some rules of operating their franchise. So that is much easier for you to start your own business. So I do want you to pause and read all of this before going to the next slide. So now again, this is the same as before. I want you to think about the advantages and disadvantages of being in a franchise after reading the PowerPoints before. So think about branding. How instrumental is branding in your business? How important is a McDonald's burger compared to your own normal burger? What about risk? Think about the risk involved in setting up a McDonald's compared to your own burger place. Who makes the decisions on the ground floor, on the ground level, thinking about your own restaurant, McDonald's restaurant? Who makes the decision there? But who makes the big decisions about the pricing of McDonald's, Big Macs and chips? What support and help do you think that you would get from the franchisor? What about the royalties? Think about how much royalties that you need to pay. Some franchisors have less royalties than others, depending on how big the brand is. Think about the amount of money that you will have to raise to start a franchise, and where you buy supplies and materials from. So you wouldn't be able to support your local farmer. You'd have to buy all the food directly from, for instance, McDonald's. And the contract. Think about the contract, how big the contract would be. You'd probably have to get a legal person to look over the contract to see what you have to do. So there again is the workbook there. There's also a short video for you to look at, another BBC video, and there's also some questions there that you will need to answer. And hopefully the video, the PowerPoint, will be able to help you with all those questions. All right, so that is the end of my 5 lessons on ownership and liability. I hope they've helped you and you understand them. But please contact me on lshelton@carshortongirls.org.uk if you need some further help. Thank you. Bye-bye.